2, 1.
Coming up on Sports Night.
The number 22 Wildcats traveled to Maryland to make an attempt at 6 wins straight against a tough Terrapin squad.
Northwestern's men's basketball team would fight for quite the opposite goal. The Cats tried to avoid an extended losing streak at Michigan State.
And we've got something a little different to look forward to. NNN Sports' own Evan Brooks took to Wrigleyville to find out about a new public curling rink in Chicago. I'm Ethan Fore.
And I'm Jessica Viti.
And this is Sports Night
right now.
Welcome to Sports Night. First and foremost, we want to send our condolences to the Bryant family and all those who were affected by the fatal helicopter crash on Sunday. Later on in our show, we'll have Kobe coverage in honor of his life and memory.
Until then, let's get back to our regularly scheduled programming. First up, Northwestern's pride and joy, the 23rd ranked Wildcat women's basketball team. We are going to kick this one off with possibly the play of the game as Pulliam misses the three and Maryland's Owusu grabs the rebound, who passes it up to Mikesell, who launches it all the way up the court to Jones, who finds Charles and puts it in for the Terrapins. Just a few minutes later, Sydney Wood drives to the basket and banks it in. Later in the second, Maryland grabs the offensive board and finds Taylor Mikesell, who hits the three to give the Terrapins the lead. Second half now, Maryland's Owusu steals the ball and launches up to Mikesell, who lays it in. Late in the fourth, Jordan Hamilton tries to keep the Cats alive as she buries a three. But it wouldn't be enough as Maryland's Blair Watson hits a three and the Terrapins beat the Wildcats, 70-61. Currently, the Wildcats are taking on the Michigan Wolverines at Welsh Ryan Arena, hoping to bounce back from Sunday's loss.
And we're now joined by Kevin Sweeney of WNUR Sports. Kevin, appreciate you being here.
Thanks for having me, Ethan.
So, the Cats, we just watched them lose to Maryland, and it's their third loss of the season, and it's their third loss to a ranked opponent. The team's currently ranked in the top 25. What do the Cats need to do to improve and beat these top 25 teams?
I think they're doing almost everything they can. When you look at a team like Northwestern, their best player, Lindsey Pulliam, is from Maryland, was a highly rated recruit. In-state school like Maryland didn't even give her a look because that's how much talent that a team like Maryland can recruit on any given year. And I think when you deal with that talent disparity, you have to play almost perfect basketball to win a game like that. And so I think obviously it was frustrating Northwestern couldn't finish their job, but it was really impressive to see them fight for 40 minutes. We've seen them go on the road to Indiana and win. We saw them blow out this Maryland team earlier in the year. So I think this team is close to its ceiling, which is a Big Ten title contender, and that's really all you can ask for. I just don't think the talent is quite high enough to really contend for like a national title level type team.
They may be not having as much talent as some of these other teams, but there is still talent there. And I want to talk about one of those talented players, and that's Veronica Burton, who's having a real standout season, real breakout season. She's leading the team in assists and in steals, and she's fourth in the country in steals entering tonight's game. Can you talk about what she's meant and what her impact has been on this team?
I mean, she brings everything to the table. I think the first thing is that defensively in Joe McEwen's Blizzard defense, she's the perfect match because she just has such a nose for the basketball. She's able to find her way into passing lanes, get steals, and turn them into easy baskets. She struggled shooting the ball from three this season after shooting 37%. Last year, she's under 30% this season. But I think one of the things that sets her apart is the fact that she doesn't need to have a great shooting night to really impact the game. And with her passing, she rebounds the ball extremely well, she defends, and then she's had some absolutely incredible drives to the basket lately. And when she's assertive going to the basket, she's really hard to stop. So she's almost the perfect match with Lindsey Pulliam in the backcourt, where Pulliam is so ball dominant in terms of shooting the basketball, and that works just as well for this Northwestern team. And Burton's not someone who needs a ton of shots to be successful, but certainly one of the more impactful players, I think, the Big Ten and in college basketball.
All right, it's hard not to look ahead with this team, right? It's about as talented as we've seen. The Cats haven't made the tournament since 2015, and they haven't won a game since 1993. You mentioned that they're maybe near their ceiling. If we're looking towards March, what can we expect from this team in the Big Ten tournament and in the NCAA tournament?
At this point, I think the goal is to find a way to be a top 4 seed in the NCAA tournament and host in the NCAA tournament. That would be a huge milestone achievement for this program and something they could build on moving forward and in recruiting, and it would just be a huge statement that they could do that. I think when you came into the year, Northwestern expected to say, okay, we're on the bubble, we can make the NCAA tournament, but it wasn't going to be necessarily a lock. And at this point, it is a lock with the wins they've been able to accumulate so far this season. And so now it's a battle for Big Ten positioning, and every single game matters. Game behind Iowa right now for the Big Ten lead, and I think if you talk to people around this team, they truly do believe that they can win a Big Ten title, and that says a whole lot about what Joe McEwen's been able to build. So the goal right now is a Big Ten title, and I think they've proven they can play with anybody. And then obviously once it comes to March Madness, you never know what can happen, Ethan.
Yeah. Really quickly, thoughts on the TikTok?
Oh, it's fantastic. Great content. I mean, this team is just so fun to be around, and that's a great example of how.
All right, Kevin, thank you so much for being here. It's always a pleasure when you're on our show.
Thanks for having me.
If you want to check out more of Kevin's work, you can go to WNURsports.com. Jessica, back over to you.
We all know things are going much better for our women Wildcats than for our men's basketball team. Let's take a look at how the ballgame played out against Ohio State. Home sweet home as the Wildcats attempt to break a 3-game losing streak against the Ohio State Buckeyes. And we start off in the second half with the Cats down 3, but Pat Spencer takes matters into his own hands. Just a few minutes later, the game stands at 41-41, but old reliable Boo Buie splashes a shot from downtown and puts Northwestern up by a few. But Ohio State's DJ Carton would go head-to-head with Spencer and shimmy his way to the basket for a pretty shot to put the Buckeyes up 8. With under 5 minutes to play, Ohio State runs the floor after a block, and at the end of the other court, Carton taps it in for an alley-oop layup to put OSU up 8 again. And to put the nail in the coffin, Carton receives the lob pass to end this one. He would score a team high of 17 points on the night, and the Buckeyes lead Evanston with a 71-59 victory. And over in East Lansing, both teams held a moment of silence for Kobe Bryant before the game. 7 minutes through, Foster Lawyer drains a heavily contested 3 to make it 16-2 Michigan State. One bright side for the Cats was Pat Spencer doing what he usually does as he slices through the defense for an easy layup to give Northwestern 6 points. And did the Cats miss Boo Buie or what? Here he is driving to the basket for a tough bucket to bring Northwestern within 4. It's safe to say the Wildcats were obliterated by the Spartans in the second half, but Ryan Young pulls off a nice slice and dice move for a basket with under 10 to play. Though it was a miserable night for Northwestern, Robbie Barron wouldn't leave Michigan without a statement dunk. The Wildcats dropped 5 games in a row, keeping them in last place in the Big Ten with a 79-50 loss to Michigan State. It seems like the Cats can't catch a break, coming off of 5 straight Big Ten losses, including the back-to-back blowout losses against Ohio State and Michigan State. Northwestern men's basketball starts off February against Purdue on Saturday at home.
When we come back, we've got water polo, wrestling, and so much more. You're watching Sports Night on NNN, so stick around.
At Northwestern, we're Wildcats in every way.
Northwestern break right through that. With our colors flying, we will cheer you all to go. Go you Northwestern, fight for victory, sweet victory, for the fame of our fair name, and go Northwestern, win that game. Go Cats!
At Northwestern University, we are pioneering innovation and achieving excellence across every imaginable discipline. At Northwestern University, the possibilities are endless.
You know, Jessica, the end of January and the beginning of February is one of the best times of the year for a college sports fan.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, Ethan, with the NFL season winding down, Super Bowl on Sunday. I mean, there's a lot of other sports to be keeping up with. What have you been looking at?
Well, we've got lacrosse, baseball, softball, they're right around the corner, tennis, wrestling, basketball happening right now. But one sport that we have been keeping a close eye on this season is water polo, and we have more. This past weekend, there was action in the pool at the Norris Aquatic Center, but it wasn't the Wildcats swimming and diving teams. No, it was the Wildcat Invitational for Club Water Polo. Pat Timlin has the story for this week's Club Sports Spotlight.
This past weekend marked the beginning of something new on campus. Northwestern Women's Club Water Polo competed in their first tournament as an official team at the Wildcat Invitational. There were always female Wildcats in the pool, but playing strictly in co-ed matches and tournaments.
This team, I've been really trying to head the movement to start our separate women's team. So we started, 4 years ago with our co-ed team, and we really, a couple of us really wanted to separate off. So I've taken that into my own hands really and worked hard to do that.
Being combined gave the women enough players and provided additional benefits.
Also, there's just a really great social dynamic. I remember last year, one of my favorite things was the kind of community that formed between the guys and the girls, inside and out of the pool.
Yet at times, it came with its own pitfalls.
I think that it can be really intimidating to come into a team that mainly has a male presence when it is an aggressive sport like water polo.
Last spring, the women decided enough was enough and broke off to form their own squad.
Officially, we played in our first tournament with just our women last spring at U of I.
The sensation of creating their own team was sweet, but complications were on the horizon.
Just number-wise, you want as many players as you can so that players don't have to play the whole game and can take breaks when they want to.
We're not going to do the full season this year because of budgetary constraints. The dues for the CWPA, which is our league that we play in, are pretty expensive, and with a smaller team, we wanted to make sure that that cost isn't going to be hefty for everyone.
It can definitely be a little scary at first when there's not already something set that you're coming into.
Yet, Captain Olivia Everhart can't help but look forward to the future she started.
Team goals, I think we really just want to go in and just test out the water in every game that we play. So just hopping in the water and really just playing to our fullest potential, even though we do have a small bench, and working hard and staying positive throughout that.
From the pool, Pat Timlin, NNN Sports.
Moving to the swimming and diving team, the Cats had a doubleheader that started on Friday in Evanston versus Cincinnati. Both the men's and women's teams came out with a win. Calypso Sheridan, Sophie Angus, Maddie Smith, and Mallory Hahn set a pool record in the 200 medley relay, while the men's 200 medley set a season-high time. On Saturday, the Wildcats traveled to Madison to take on the Wisconsin Badgers. The women's team were victorious, however, the men's team took a loss. Both teams will travel to West Lafayette, Indiana on Friday to participate in a tri-meet against Purdue and Minnesota.
From the pool to the mat, the number 21 ranked Northwestern wrestling team took on the Michigan Wolverines in a Big Ten duel. Looking to protect his undefeated season and his ranking as the number 1 wrestler in his weight division, Ryan Deacon pulled out a decision win against his Wolverine counterpart. Not to be outshined, Wildcats' Lucas Davison and Shane Oster also came out victorious in their matchups. Cats look to get back on the mat against Illinois this Sunday.
And over to women's tennis, they traveled to Nashville this week for ITA kickoff weekend, where they achieved their first dual win of the season. The women stumbled in the first round, losing to Arizona State 4-2. On Saturday, the Wildcats had much more success when they faced Penn. In the 4-0 sweep, Brianna Crowley, Clarissa Hand, and Incy Ogut all scored singles victories in straight sets. On the doubles courts, Christina Hand and Incy Ogut won 6-1, while Hannah McColgan and Brianna Crowley were also victorious, winning 6-0. The Wildcats will be back at it again, hosting Vanderbilt this Friday.
Over the weekend, the number 9 ranked Northwestern fencing team traveled to South Bend, Indiana to compete in the DeChico duels. After dominating wins against Wayne State, Cleveland State, Denison, and Lawrence, the Cats met their match in Notre Dame, their hosts and the number 1 ranked team in the country. Despite strong performances from Emma Scala, who swept her opponent, in addition to Abby Tartell, Anna Biasco, and Julia Felinska, the Cats lost by 1 point in a heartbreaking 14-13 loss to the Fighting Irish. Northwestern went on to win their final two duels of the day against Florida and Detroit Mercy as they jumped to 19-9 overall in the season. Northwestern will now play the host as the NU duels will take place here in Evanston this weekend.
Northwestern has plenty of unique clubs and sports around campus, from Quidditch to badminton. But one sport that's not yet in Evanston is curling. NNN Sports' Evan Brooks takes SportsNight to Wrigleyville to get a close look at the curling rink next to the Chicago Cubs ballpark. He has more.
It may not be one of the most popular winter sports, but it is certainly one of the most detailed. With 4 clubs here in Chicago alone and 188 nationally, curling can be a fun and welcoming experience for all.
We just look to grow the sport of curling and build a community around the sport of curling. So we run leagues, have outings, obviously to try to get people to curl more, but then also provide just a social atmosphere, to hang out and curl.
Here at the Gallagher Way Ice Skating Rink in Wrigleyville, each of the clubs gave a little lesson on how to curl, with one common thing in mind: teamwork.
Yeah, teamwork's super important. We were all supporting each other. In curling, you have to work together to get the stone to go a little bit farther if you need to, or stop it if you need to. So having open communication is always positive.
The final portion of the night concluded with a friendly competition as it put everyone's skills to the test.
I thought it was super fun. I was a little nervous because it's icy, but I thought it was super fun.
With more than 25,000 curlers registered to the United States Curling Association, the sport is certainly growing and in some cases can create an everlasting friendship with teamwork at the forefront of it all. In Chicago, for NNN Sports, I'm Evan Brooks.
To check out more of Evan's work, follow him on Twitter at e-brooks_14.
We're going to take a short break, but when we come back, we'll reflect on the life and legacy of Kobe Bryant. You're watching SportsNight on NNN, so don't go anywhere.
At Northwestern, we're Wildcats in every way.
Northwestern break right through that. With our colors flying, we will cheer you all to go. Go you Northwestern, fight for victory, sweet victory, for the fame of our fair name, and go Northwestern, win that game. Go Cats!
At Northwestern University, we are pioneering innovation and achieving excellence across every imaginable discipline. Northwestern University, the possibilities are endless.
The sports world and beyond were shocked this weekend with the tragic passing of NBA legend Kobe Bryant. At just 41 years old, he and his 13-year-old daughter, along with 7 other passengers, crashed in his private helicopter on their way to the Mamba Sports Academy's travel basketball game that day. Here now, with some words of commemoration, Ethan Fore.
There are days when the world seems to stand still. Sunday was one of those days. I'm not sure I've ever felt this sad about someone I didn't know. It's crazy what sports can do, how they connect you to people, make you believe in people, look up to people. Sports are emotional, and sports are personal. Kobe was a childhood icon of mine. Growing up with family from Los Angeles, I was a Laker fan. I had his jersey, his t-shirts, his shoes. I sat on my couch in disbelief for hours on Sunday afternoon. It's still hard to believe. I never knew a world without Kobe, and I still wish I didn't know. To not see his face, to not hear his voice, it seems impossible. Kobe was 41, and he had so much life ahead of him. What makes Sunday's tragedy so much more heartbreaking is that his 13-year-old daughter, Gianna, as well as 7 others, lost their lives too. To know that they won't get to live their lives makes my heart ache, and it makes the hearts of many around the world ache as well. Kobe was not a man without flaws, and it's important to acknowledge all of Kobe's legacy. I saw a tweet that basically read, "It's okay to mourn imperfect people," and I find that tweet to be true. But to know what Kobe meant to Los Angeles, to know what he meant to basketball, and most importantly, to know what he meant to his family, and what his family meant to him, it makes it all the more tough to swallow. Kobe was immortal, and then all of a sudden, he wasn't. So where do we go from here? I think it's important to remember all of Kobe, the good and the bad. Remember the work ethic, the Mamba mentality, the drive for perfection. And remember to live in the moment, be present, make the most of each day. Tell the people that you care about how you feel. Cherish these moments because life is so fragile and yet so valuable. I'll never forget the impact Kobe had on me and so many others. Here's Andrew Fenichel with more.
Kobe Bryant. You know, for a lot of people, those 2 words mean more than just the name of one of the greatest players in NBA history. For this generation of basketball players at every level, Kobe Bryant means competitiveness, hard work, the grind, and champion. Whether it's you, watching our show right now after playing pickup after work, or me on my high school varsity team, or many of the members of the men's and women's basketball teams right here at Northwestern, Kobe was our Jordan, a godlike figure and a symbol of basketball in the 21st century. I reached out to a few members of both the men's and the women's basketball teams here at Northwestern, and they had some incredible things to say about Kobe. Starting with freshman Robbie Barron of the Northwestern men's team, he said that as I grew older, I began to appreciate Kobe more not for his moves on the court, but for his attention to detail, how he approached each season, each game, each play, each rep. He's sort of talking about the Mamba mentality. I'm sure you've heard of it. It was Kobe's drive to be the best he possibly could be at whatever he put his mind to, and you can really extend it outside of basketball. Now on to Ryan Young. Ryan said that there's a lot of athletes that are talented enough to win, but not a lot have the confidence mentality to be successful in what they do after playing. Just think about it. How many NBA players do you know that once they retired, you never heard from again? Kobe, on the other hand, he was a huge advocate of the women's game. You would often see him courtside at WNBA games, and he started the Mamba Sports Academy for youth basketball. Last but not least, I talked to Lindsay Pulliam of the women's team, and Lindsay said that when it comes to my mindset of having that killer instinct and not caring who you are, knowing that I'm going to go at you and outwork you, a lot of that came from him. And you know, I really appreciate Lindsay taking the time to talk to me because I know how much of a Kobe fan she was. Kobe Bryant's her cover photo on Twitter, and a lot of her teammates told me that she really looked up to Kobe Bryant as a role model, and even more so, she modeled a lot of her game after Kobe. At least that's what she told me. I mean, if you look at these side-by-side video right here, I mean, look, stop, pop, mid-range jumper, buckets. It's uncanny the similarity they have on the court. So yes, Kobe Bryant is tragically dead, but basketball is not. So next time you go to throw away a piece of paper, let's keep the sport and the Mamba's legacy alive. You know what to do. Kobe. For more on Kobe's impact on the Chicago area basketball scene, let's send it over to Chris Burton in Studio B.
Kobe's death obviously felt across the nation, really across the world, but I had the opportunity to go down to the United Center this week where the Bulls play and see how he impacted a city he never even lived in. Outside the United Center Monday night, fans scrawled messages in chalk, paying tribute to an icon.
Yesterday, my childhood hero passed away. In 1996 was when he was drafted. I was 4 years old. 4 years old when I started playing basketball. Just watched him growing up, cried with him, laughed with him, smiled with him.
Former Los Angeles Lakers star Kobe Bryant was one of 9 people killed in a helicopter crash Sunday in California. He was 41 years old.
For me, he really almost, in a sense, represented what basketball meant.
I just remember the days watching Kobe and Michael Jordan going at it. And it was the best time ever. That's probably the most time I watched basketball. So, devastating. I still can't believe it.
Jordan was one of hundreds of athletes and celebrities to publicly mourn Bryant's death. In a statement, he said he was, quote, in shock, and that Kobe was like a little brother to him. Kobe was this close to calling United Center home. He was nearly traded to the Bulls twice, once in 2004 and again in 2007. Although he never became a Chicagoan, plenty of them made the trip to say goodbye. For Sports Night, I'm Chris Burton.
It's a difficult time for the sports world, and it won't get easier for a while. All we can do is appreciate what we have. Hold your loved ones close. Don't wait to do the thing you've wanted to do. Be the best version of yourself every day, and give everything you've got to everything you do. To the 5 families and so many more affected by the tragedy, our hearts and our thoughts are with you always. Mamba forever. We'll be back after this.
At Northwestern, we're Wildcats in every way.
Northwestern break right through that. With our colors flying, we will cheer you all to go. Go you Northwestern, fight for victory, sweet victory, for the fame of our fair name, and go Northwestern, win that game. Go Cats!
Welcome back. We spent a lot of tonight celebrating Kobe. Now let's celebrate some of the best moments from Northwestern sports this week. Ethan?
Let's do it. Plays of the week. Coming in at number 3, Boo Buie splashes a 3 against the Ohio State Buckeyes. Man, he has been fun to watch this year.
Number 2, Robbie Barron slams a 2-handed dunk against Michigan State.
And our number 1 play of the week, we talked about her earlier, it's Veronica Burton banking in that 3. I hope she called it. She's fun to watch too. That's all we have for you tonight. For Jessica Viti, I'm Ethan Fore. You've been watching Sports Night. Have a good night. 3, 2, 1.
Kobe.
Kobe.